Broadcasting from Meredith Hall Studios, you're listening to Covering the Field Sports Show. Featuring sports analysts, Big Rich Martin, Marc the Shark Sabella, Rockin, Ronnie McKinnon, Gator Gates. And now here's your host, Joe the Answer Ellison.
First up, covering the NBA are analysts Marc the Shark Sabella and Big Richard Martin. Marc, let's look at what happened in the second round of the playoffs in the National Basketball Association. Let's start with the biggest upset as Dallas eliminated the best team during the regular season, Phoenix, in 7 games.
Do we have to do this, Joe? This is getting so much coverage. It's I don't know what you guys thought of it. I'm watching it going, this probably is the biggest disappointment in Phoenix sports history. I mean, unbelievable. Just a disappearing act by CP3 and Booker. They got, I want to say they were down by 50 at some point before they rallied and came back and lost by 43 at home in a game 7. But
33, but who's counting?
Okay, right, yeah.
It was a lot.
Amongst 10 points, yeah, you know.
You couldn't catch up in an overtime game for the USFL with a 10-point conversion. You couldn't catch up. I mean, sad.
Yeah, very, very sad, Big Rich. And Patrick Beverley took to the day after Game 7 to go on the Big Mouse, a couple of their programs. And I wanted to get your guys' take on this. His exact quote was, CP can't guard nobody, man. Everybody in the NBA know that. You know the cones you dribble around in the summer. What does a cone do? Nothing. He's a cone. You don't want to accept that, meaning the press, right, and the Big Mouse. Give him the Ben Simmons slander.
Ooh.
So I mean, Joe, and you and I had talked about this, but really harsh words, really, and Big Rich, you and I had talked about this too, but, you know, Patrick Beverley is not ever against mincing words with his foes, the Lakers, the Suns, even the Clippers, his ex-teammates now. What do you guys make of that statement, though?
Well, first, let me say thanks for putting me on with you guys in the basketball show. Privileged to be with you guys and your great picks throughout the year. And you guys hit every one of your series winners, except for one.
This one.
Yeah, this one. But nobody picked. I don't think anybody saw this happen. Yep. Beverly also said that when he has to guard Steph Curry the night before, he's in bed by 8 o'clock. When he has to guard CP3, he's out drinking wine and having a steak dinner. So he definitely has some hurt feelings there with him. But I mean, it's an honest opinion, and I think that's what you are going to get from him every time. So I mean, it's proofs in the pudding. He is 37 years old. I mean, he's not, it's a young man's basketball game, playing against 20-year-olds.
Yeah, I hope CP3 is taking it well, because obviously he's a Hall of Fame player, and this Patrick Beverley is not. Does he have the right to talk about CP3 such as he does? Me being a hockey fan such as I am, I know this would never happen in hockey where you just go on TV and totally trash somebody else, especially a guy who's going to the Hall of Fame. A total lack of respect, and I don't like it. And I hope Beverly gets a ration for doing it.
Maybe it wasn't Chris Paul that showed up. Maybe it was that commercial Jake from State Farm. Remember he said it was Cliff Paul's Uncle Cliff. Maybe Uncle Cliff showed up and threw up a bunch of clunkers going over whatever. He didn't have a first field goal until the second half. I mean, terrible. I mean,
that explains CP3. It doesn't explain Devin Booker's disappearance, though.
Exactly.
He had his worst playoff game as a pro. So it just was a team effort. I mean, just the panning of the Phoenix crowd was amazing. Just jaws on the chair in front of them. It was just unbelievable. And to your point, Big Rich, that's the only one that the series that Joe and I got wrong. And I know it ruined my parlays and teasers.
It was bloody Sunday on anybody that had Phoenix on any type of parlay card.
Yeah. We don't know what Phoenix did before the game, what they did the night before the game, maybe a little partying involved. I don't know. They were not focused.
Probably eating steaks and drinking champagne.
That could have been it.
Today on the internet, Luke Donovich,
Luka Doncic?
Doncic, yes. It might not have been him, but he was on the internet having a beer at 10:45 in the morning at someplace with a hoodie on in San Francisco. Now, it could not have been him. It would have been somebody that looked like him, but I mean, in Germany, you can have a beer. I mean, you drink when you're 14. I mean, is it okay to have a beer at 10:45 when you're going to play Steph Curry? Maybe if you're playing CP3, you could thought, he maybe thinks Steph Curry is going to be his.
It's okay to have a couple of big beers and then go back to work in Germany.
That's how they do it in Europe.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
whatever he's doing, I want him to do the same because he looked great in Game 7. If he had a couple, Heffenheisers or whatever, whatever works.
Luka, he had 27 points at halftime of that game. The Phoenix Suns themselves entirely had 27 points at halftime. So, and no, Scott Foster did not ref that game. Chris Paul is 1-13 and when he is the referee at his games, but he wasn't there. This was strictly the Suns doing what they did. And yes, now we're 11-1.
How do you become one of the best teams in basketball and then you turn out to be looking like the Lakers? I mean, the lowly Lakers are on the same page as them right now. I'm like, you got to do a rebuild. You're not going to be able to,
So also in the Western Conference, Golden State defeated Memphis in 6. What did you see there?
I know that was tough for you to watch with a split heart there, my friend. I know you've been taking Golden State.
Love them.
To go all the way, and then but Memphis is your team, and they have been kind of Joe's and my radar since Game 1 in the preseason. But no victory on that one. I think their bench players and their secondary players around Ja played as tough a game as they could have, but then ultimately it was Golden State's shooting was too much.
And their experience. These guys are awesome. To me, it reminds me of, you remember when the Bulls couldn't get past the Pistons, and they finally beat the Pistons, and then it seems like I think that's a younger team coming up, and I just think that they're off to it. Your future's bright in Memphis.
Yes,
I will say Golden State showed some weakness in Game 5. They were down to Memphis by like 55 points. It's been like a quarter century since that happened to any playoff team, and then of course they go on to win. No Ja Morant. Definitely a factor.
A weakness would be like the Titanic weakness. They were down by 50.
Yeah. But they came back and won the next game.
Yeah.
So they bounced back. In the East, Boston took out defending champion Milwaukee in 7. We have someone to chat to about that.
Yes, Wayne Newton of
we're hoping.
We're going to have to get him
Las
on
Vegas.
a live call in one of these days and go face to face. Well,
we told him it was fake,
him.
but that series could not have been closer. I think having Middleton out. If they have Middleton, they have a great shot of even winning.
I think they may. Well, yeah, you're right. It would have definitely gone 7.
Yeah, and it did, and that series.
8.
Well, four out of the four games out of the 7 games that were won were on the visitors. So that was just an equal battle. Great, Tumbo played great, and
Well, we predicted Golden State in 6. We got that right. We predicted Boston in 7. Nailed that. One I got wrong. Miami dispatched Philadelphia in 6. I picked Miami in 5 because of the injury to Joel Embiid, but he actually played well games 3 and 4,
right.
and they won those. What did you see in that series?
Well, yeah, like you were saying, Joe, I don't think we would have figured that Joel Embiid was going to be coming back, but he realized the essence of the situation, which was, I can't leave this team to Harden. He's no leader. He can't do it. And Harden, I don't know if I asked you guys this on last week's show, but what did Harden shoot in the second? No, I didn't ask you this, but what did Harden shoot in the second half of that deciding game?
he threw a bagel up there.
That's right, 0. Is that what you want from a future Hall of Fame, hopefully closer, and someone that is going to team up well with who I thought should have gotten the MVP award this year, but he didn't. I came in second to the Joker, but. That's not what you want to see in a closeout game. That kind of performance. And so
He only shot it twice.
Right.
It's 0 for 2, not 0 for 6 or 7.
Yeah.
He barely even tried.
You trade Simmons for him. You give him millions of dollars, and he's going to shoot 2 shots in the.
You just got Ben Simmons, only in a different uniform.
Exactly.
Well, and by the way, Simmons contributed 0% also for the Nets. So,
but at least he didn't miss any shots.
No, he just was looking good in his suits over in.
Sure.
So that was a pretty awesome round. I mean, there were 2 Game 7s and a couple Game 6s. It was good basketball. And now we've already played one game in the Eastern Conference Finals. Miami winning last night. What did you see in that game, Marc?
Well, Joe, I saw 6 games in 1, you guys. I watched every second of that. I was intrigued. My feelings towards the series actually kept swaying back and forth. Initially, I was thinking, wow, Boston's just going to run the rails off of everybody they play from this point forward. And then, when the Miami started 0 for 6, I was going, oh, this is going to be a quick series. This isn't going to be maybe 5. It's going to be definitely in Boston's favor. Then all of a sudden, Miami's defense started kicking in. Boston started looking a little tired.
Right.
Their main players, Jason and Jason Tatum and Brown, they started looking like they had just gone through a grueling 7-game series with champions.
Right.
And so in the second half, Miami started with a 22-2 run. They ultimately finished the third quarter outscoring Boston 39-14, and they blew the doors off it. They let Boston come back a little bit in the fourth. By then it was too late. Part of the contribution, besides Jimmy Buckets having another 40-plus game, was the team defense for Miami blocked 12 Celtic shots last night. Just an all-around dominant. Once they started kind of seeing how each team was going to play, they really utilized home court to their advantage. But I know what you're going to say, Joe, is they were missing a couple of their players. Right. That's absolutely true. And Miami was missing one of their players and one of their starters. But all around, it looked like both defenses to me, Big Rich, were very similar in style. Whereas in the beginning of the game in the series, I was thinking Miami's defense is going to be way too much for. Boston's defense is going to be too much for Miami.
Well, they play great defense. Both teams play great defense, and I think if you'd have a different outcome if Boston would have got Philadelphia in their 6-game series instead of doing a 7-game series with the Tumbo, I mean, I think that you hit it right, the money right on the what you just said. And also, was it Horford is out with COVID. And this is the 3rd time this year that he's been out on the protocol. He was out in preseason, he was out in December, and now he's out. And the coach said he's feeling fine, which means he's probably asymptomatic. It's what I'm thinking, because he's not sick, but he did test positive. So,
isn't that a minimum of 10 games though?
I think it's 2 tests. I think it's 2 tests, right? You have to have 2 tests.
Or 10 days.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Not 10 games.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not good news. Marcus Smart's right ankle injury, the MRI came back clean. And he's still questionable, but I think they're leaning more he's going to play game 2. If you said you're Boston, you're going to go into Miami, Joe, what do you want to do? You want to go and split. So, I mean, they had a tough series. I'm not surprised that they didn't pull the game out. But I think they kind of want to go get a split. I think that's what their goal was.
Well, they only had 2 days rest as opposed to 5. Now they only get 1 more day of rest before the next game. I don't know how much more rested they can possibly get. It doesn't bode well. Obviously, that 2 for 15 in the third period killed him. Jimmy Butler by himself had 17 points in the third and outscored him.
And why is Jimmy Butler so angry all the time? Has anybody ever seen Jimmy Butler smile? I mean, that guy is just an angry person.
Really?
He's just focused on winning.
You're joking, right?
I'm joking.
Yeah, I was like, he seems like he's always goofing around.
He says he's just focused on winning, but we'll see about that.
Okay.
And let's see. So how do we see the series finishing? I guess we have to make predictions now. I'm going to take Miami to win the series just because of the rest factor. I'm going to say it goes 7 games. It's going to be a great series. Any thoughts?
Well, I've had the Celtics, and I'm keeping the Celtics.
Right.
I've had the Celtics
You have
from
to
the beginning.
stick.
Of course, I want to keep the Celtics 11. I've already bet them to go to the Eastern Conference Championship. So,
Joe, because you basically forced me to make a decision with Miami
Before the playoffs started.
before the playoffs even started, I'm actually going to change now. Even after last night's performance, I think Boston will win this. You can get plus money on them to win the series now, whereas they were a pretty strong favorite heading into the game. However, with the addition of the players, the additional rest, getting into the groove of the series, I think you're going to see it a lot more tightly contested going forward. So I can actually see this thing going 6 or 7, and I would take Boston with the 4 points tomorrow in the individual game 2.
we'll keep an eye on those Marcus Smart. Because that'll definitely adjust. The spread went from 2 to 4 after they found out 2 hours before the game, after I made my bet that Hartford has COVID. Thanks a lot, COVID.
So tonight is game 1 of the series between Golden State and Dallas. What is your prediction for that series?
Well, I'm going to start off with a question for you gentlemen, is what do you think the series price is for the two teams?
Well, Golden State has to be favored with the experience, probably more than they should be. I'm going to guess maybe like a minus 250 or something like that. Maybe.
Well, they're 5-point favorites today.
They're 5-point favorites today.
So I would have to say that they're thinking they're going to win their home game. So I'll go maybe minus 200.
Yeah, very good, guys. Minus 220. And Mavs plus 190. So
Dallas getting a little bit of respect.
They're getting a little bit of respect. They won 2 out of 3 on the regular season. Each team missing various players, and we can't really judge it from the regular season. But each team. Luka has been averaging 28.4 in the regular season. He's notched it up, to 31.5 during the playoffs. And but that includes the 45 he rolled in Phoenix during the last series. So the only complaint I would have against Dallas or against Luka is that sometimes he goes into hero mode. He goes into ball hog mode a little too much. There's only one true hero that can actually do hero ball, and that's on Miami, Tyler Hero, the 6th man of the year. But no, and then Golden State's coming in missing 4 players. 4 solid players are injured coming in, and their field goal percentage has been kind of going down throughout the playoffs, which could be an element of fatigue, or it could be who knows what it is. But they've been inconsistent from 3-ball and in these wild swings of points and stuff. All that being said, I'm going to take Golden State money line tonight, and I'm going to take Golden State to win the series.
In 6 or 7?
7.
That's what
I think
take.
Luke is gonna keep it a very interesting series.
I'm going to pick both series to go 7. So
I'm going to go with the Splash Brothers, of course. I picked them before, but how could you go against Klay Thompson in Game 6? I mean, he's just amazing in Game 6. So I'm going to say Golden State in 6.
Golden State in 6. All
because
right.
of Game 5 when he went 0 for 7 from the 3-point line.
maybe I'm not saying in 5, Mark. I'm saying in 6. I bet Klay Thompson in 6. That's the analytics.
Well, Big Rich, your pick of Golden State defeating Boston in the finals, still alive. You're the only one of us who's still alive.
You guys got 7 out of 8.
Because we got Phoenix. We had Phoenix. I'm now going to take Golden State also, defeating Miami, however, in the final.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same also, Joe. But actually, I'm going to have Golden State and Boston, with Golden State beating Boston in the final.
Okay. Quickly now, finally, the NBA draft lottery took place last night in Chicago. What happened there?
Well, I have a take or fake for you, gentlemen.
Okay.
So the take or fake is Orlando got the number 1 pick. This is the second time they have gotten the number 1 pick. And if you want to do a little bonus question with that is, can you tell me the players that were drafted by Orlando in the past?
One's an easy one.
Yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal.
How
But
about
I
this year?
can't. I
It's
would
either
have.
be-
I would have assumed that they've been so terrible for so long that they've had the number one pick like at least 3 times.
All right.
At least.
Well,
I
it's
don't know
either-
how exactly
you
that
have to
works.
say,
Maybe they made some trades.
Little Penny
on it.
Hardaway, maybe, or Dwight Howard. That's what my 2 out of 10.
That makes sense, but I don't remember any of that.
So you guys got a fake on that one, right?
Got a fake, yeah.
Okay, you are correct. It is. This will be the 4th time Orlando has been drafting number 1. In 2004, it was Dwight Howard. They took first. Interestingly, they selected Chris Webber back in 1993, and of course Shaq in 2012, sorry. 2013, which throws people off sometimes, is they selected number 2 in that draft. They picked up Victor Oladipo, who is now with the Miami Heat and is
Great player.
starring with them.
Yes.
So many trades in the draft all
Yes.
the time. The order will be Orlando, Oklahoma City, Houston, and Sacramento, and we'll see how that goes. And
Some big names out of that, Joe, that are expected to go: Jabari Smith from Auburn, Chet Holmgren from Gonzaga, Paolo Banchero from Duke.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good player.
Sheldon Sharp from Kentucky, and Keegan Murray from Iowa. And you have one extra one,
Was
right?
it Chris Ivey out
Yes.
of Purdue? I mean, I know that Sweet 16 loss to St. Peter's, they got smacked. I think that definitely brought his draft status down, and Keegan Murray went out also early too. So
It's a deep draft, and all these guys you can see starring in the association for a long time.
good.
well, good work, Marc and Rich. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next guest today and covering hockey is Gator Gates. How are things going today, Gator?
Oh, I'm excellent, Joe. Thank you.
The first round of the National Hockey League playoffs is in the books. Let's quickly recap what happened. In the Eastern Conference, number 1 seed and President's Cup winner Florida beat Washington in 6. Carolina bested Boston in 7. The New York Rangers squeaked by Pittsburgh in 7. And Tampa Bay disappointed Toronto and its fans in 7. Gator, what were the major stories?
Well, I want to start with the Rangers and Pittsburgh. I did pick Rangers to start to win this series, but then I flip-flopped when Pittsburgh was down, where Rangers had to win 3 games in a row. But then that 5th game, Joe Crosby went out and he was hurt, so he didn't play in the 6th game. And the Rangers won both of those games, but in Game 7, Pittsburgh did get Crosby and Jari back to play, and that game did go into overtime, but again, the Rangers did win, so I want to congratulate them for not giving up and having heart. They had heart.
Yeah, future Hall of Famer Sidney Crosby got hurt. They're up 3-1. Never before had a team like the Rangers trailed in each of the last 3 games of a series and won, but all that happened. There was that penalty by Pittsburgh in overtime, probably saved a goal, but that poor power play killing gave up the winning score. They just kept giving up shot after shot. They weren't challenging anybody, and sure enough, the puck went in the net.
I think it's all been funny this year as far as that goes, Joe. It doesn't seem like a normal playoffs to me. And I noticed that last year in the bubble, too, where it didn't seem like normal hitting. It was more finesse, and I don't know, maybe his game has changed a little, huh?
Maybe so. It's got a little more friendlier in the playoffs.
Yeah, sure seems like it.
And the refereeing is a lot more tighter than it used to be, especially for penalties. So
Yeah, because all these penalty minutes, but you're barely getting into double digits where you see like 30, 40 penalty minutes. Now you're seeing 6 and 12 and 10 and 6 and
yeah.
crazy.
What about that Toronto-Tampa Bay series? That certainly was interesting.
Sure, yeah. Again, I had to take Tampa Bay. I couldn't take Toronto because every year we go through this at the beginning of the season. Toronto, they're going to do it. They're going to get out of there. And every year they do the same thing, don't. Yeah, so it wasn't a shock to me that Tampa Bay won. But again, we went into another Game 7. They were the better team. The stat that shows to me was in that Game 6, Tampa Bay had 60 hits, which is amazing. I don't know where they got all that from, but that was just an amazing stat to me. But yeah, I wasn't too shocked. Really wasn't.
Not really, shouldn't be shocked, because if there are 3 sure things lately in life, they are death taxes, and Toronto will lose in the first round of the playoffs, if they even get that far. The Maple Leafs now have 10 straight series clinching losses and are winless in their last 9 elimination games. The Leafs' last playoff series win was in 2004.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Tampa Bay goalie Andrei Vasilevsky, on the other hand, has given up a total of 1 goal in his last 6 series-deciding games and is 17-0 after a playoff game loss.
So watch out, bettors. Just be careful, bettors.
Wait for Tampa Bay to lose and then bet Tampa Bay the next game and probably the under. That would be, I'm thinking that's pretty good advice. And incidentally, Carolina has now won 7 straight Game 7s. So if it comes down to that.
Well, let's talk about Carolina for a sec, Joe.
Okay.
Now, isn't it funny, like during the regular season, we're always talking offense, goal scorers, and things like that. Boy, that sure stops when you get into the playoffs. Now we're talking goalies. And let's talk about Carolina's goalie. Let me get his name right. It's Antti Ranta.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my God, Joe. I just can't wait for Florida and Carolina series. You would think that I'm going to take Carolina when that happens just because Florida's had the President's Trophy. We know the jinx on that, so how can I go with them?
Right.
So I just told you, Carolina's going to win this series. Florida's going to win that series. That's going to come down to those 2 teams. Boston fought, Boston was my pick to win the Stanley Cup. I thought they would match better against Calgary or against Carolina, and I still think they do. The only thing I can say, Joe, is that when the series started, you had the 2 goalies. Who are you going to put in there, Swayman or are you going to put in Allmark? Both of them were so close. It ended up that you wanted to put Swayman in one more game than Allmark, but how you can't blame Bruce Cassidy on that. I really don't.
No,
It's just a guess.
Well, the home team won every game in that series, and Carolina has amazing fans. I'm not going to bet against Carolina in any of their home games after watching the way those games unfolded.
And that's another thing, Joe. We're looking at the NBA. Home court means everything. Well, not this year, it doesn't seem like. In hockey, home ice doesn't mean anything. And not this year, Joe. It seems like home ice means everything. So kind of flip-flop this year.
Yep, it definitely means a lot more this year, for sure. In the Western Conference, Edmonton beat Los Angeles in 7, Calgary bested Dallas in 7, and St. Louis managed to beat Minnesota in 6. I got those 3 series exactly right, believe it or not.
Way to go, Joe.
And Colorado swept Nashville over a week ago, even before, even before we started to look at last week's
Yeah, we haven't
action.
even talked about them.
Yeah.
But I want to start with St. Louis and Minnesota because Minnesota reminds me a lot of Toronto, where you want to jump on that bandwagon, and I do. I want to jump on Minnesota's bandwagon so much, but they're exact same as Toronto, Joe, and I just hate to say that. But it's also great that St. Louis won because it makes the series between the Avalanche and St. Louis excellent. Avalanche did win last night, and I expect the Avalanche to win the series, but excellent hockey.
Okay.
I love St. Louis. They're a good team.
Well, that was a great, obviously one of the best ever rounds of hockey. With that Dallas-Calgary Game 7, that made a total of 5 Game 7s in the first round. That's the first time that's happened since 1995. Just great hockey.
You got to give Dallas credit in that series, Joe. Like I said, Dallas has one line that can play with even Avalanche, Florida. Their second, third, fourth lines are not known for scoring. But, Joe, I mean, they did great. They lost 3-2. They lost 4-2. They made a great series.
1-0.
1-0.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Joe, Dallas did really good.
Yep. In the moving on to the second round, it's time to make some predictions. In the Tampa Bay Florida series, Tampa took Game 1 last night, 4-1. So who do you like in this rivalry?
Yeah, and these 2 teams hate each other, Joe. And when you're looking at rivalries, this game and the Calgary-Edmonton series, you can throw those stats out the window because they hate each other. I would have to me, Florida's the better team. Again, I hate being superstitious, but they do have that President's Trophy, and history has proven that you're not going to win the Stanley Cup
if you win the
President's Trophy. So I'm still, and like Joe said, Tampa Bay did win last night. It's going to be close. They hate each other. I think Florida's still going to win.
Well, I'm going to have to take Tampa in 7 now just because of the Vasilevsky stat. What happens when Tampa Bay loses? Tampa Bay wins the next game, and they won the first game, so it's mathematically impossible for Vasilevsky to win every game after a loss. And Tampa
But those stats
not
don't
win.
go on forever, Joe.
But the way he does it is
Amazing. Yes,
yes.
I understand where you're going.
He totally shuts them down. So how about Carolina and the New York Rangers, which begins tonight?
That's a great series. I'm going to have to go with Carolina. But the Rangers are, like I said, they're playing excellent. But Carolina's just the better team, Joe.
Yeah, I totally agree. I got Carolina in 7, Tampa Bay in 7. I do like a long series in Florida for sure. In the West last night, number 1 seed Colorado edged St. Louis 3-2 in overtime in Game 1. What do you think about that game and how that series will finish?
Bennington. Sorry, Bennington. Avalanche just play after play, just waves of just offense, and Billington was all over the place, played excellent. How do you slow down the Avalanche? You have to hit them. Avalanche is just the better team. I see this being in 6. It wouldn't shock me if it goes 7. St. Louis is great, but Avalanche is the better team.
Yep, I got Colorado in 6 also. That means they'll have to win Game 6 in St. Louis. We'll see if that happens. And last, but definitely not least, in the Battle of the Province of Alberta, it's Calgary and Edmonton starting tonight. What's your prediction in the uncivil war?
I like Edmonton. I just want to say that LA Quick played an excellent series, and if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't even gotten as far as they did. So Edmonton had to really outwork them. Well, now we have an opposite team, right? We have a great goalie in Los Angeles. Now we have an opposite team. We got a team that can skate as fast as the Avalanche. And when I say, and I got backlash a little bit of this last week, I said that Calgary doesn't have a great defense. Yeah, they got a goalie, but they don't have 3 defensive lines that are going to be able to take Draisaitl out or Nurse when he gets back, if he is back. I just don't see it. I don't see them slowing them down whatsoever.
Yeah, I'll try Calgary. I got to see this go 7. It would just be amazing. And since they're at home,
yeah.
I'll try Calgary in 7.
As a fan, I want to see 5 overtimes in Game 7.
Yeah. As for the Stanley Cup Finals, of course, we both wanted Boston to get there. They didn't make it, so I have to make a new prediction, and maybe you do too. What do you see happening now?
Well, Joe, I have to go with the Avalanche. I mean, who are you gonna bring on?
Well, Tampa Bay, the 2-time defending champions, of course.
Win 3 in a row? No.
It doesn't seem. I got Colorado defeating Tampa Bay.
Florida. I want it to be Florida, and I want it to be
defeats
Colorado, and I want to see all those rats out on the ice. I want to see it all. I want to go back to 1995, Joe.
That's right. That'll be a repeat. Colorado, Florida, 1995. Excellent job, Gator.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Back to the show is our football expert, Big Richard Martin. Big Rich, what were the big stories in the United States Football League last week?
Well, I think we have to say that we were really down on the Maulers, Pittsburgh Maulers, and they got their first win. So congratulations to them. They got a new quarterback, and maybe they saw they needed a change at the quarterback position, and they got Vad Lee from played at Georgia Tech, and he came in and played great.
Yeah, they just signed him on Tuesday, and then Sunday he's leading them to a win, their first win of the season, like you said, against Houston. And they scored on the very last play of the game, a touchdown.
Yeah, the Houston Gamblers, which I call the Hamburglers, lost in the last second again. I mean, they look like a bunch of clowns out there. You can't finish these games off. Clay Thorson drops the football. They're up by 9 points. I'm on my way for my 4th straight win, getting ready to go to the to William Hill and cash my ticket in, and he drops the ball, and I said, oh no, because here field goal they're up by 9, field goal's we were up by 8, and field goal made it 5 instead of 5.5, and I dropped the 5.5, and I got hosed. And then they come back, and then they are so predictable, the Gamblers. They're not gambling at all. They run it twice, pass, run it twice, pass, run it, pass. I mean, everybody knows what's going on, and now you've got these announcers telling us the play before it even happens. You can hear the play. How does the defensive coordinator doesn't get that information? I don't know, Joe. I mean, some plays you have to surprise. You can't tell the defense the play. I don't know. Anyway, they come down to the last play. Vad Lee throws a bullet to Bailey Gator, and the last score of the touchdown. So congratulations to them.
Yep, they got their first win, but Birmingham did not get their first loss. They remain the only undefeated team with its 30-17 victory over Philadelphia.
That's true. I mean, they have been losing in all 5 of their games. They've come back. They're like Strike Rich? That they come back.
Rich
The great
Strike?
Rich Strike. Yeah, I mean, they're the closer, man. They come in the fourth quarter and knock you out. They're, the thing is, we have to watch about USFL betting is Brian Scott, their starter, was out. I had no idea. I don't know how you get that information. The injury report for the USFL. They had Case Cookus in there. He played decent, 215 yards, but Juwan Smith had 203 yards. Total control of that. That defense is popping. They have a great running game. Juwan Smith runs that offense. They play great defense, and they have the home field advantage.
Yep, they have all the fans, that's for sure. And that's the only team that has any fans. Seeing all the games are in Birmingham.
Yeah, and they came in late because they all came out of church. I think they all showed up about at halftime. They all showed up and supported their Birmingham Stallions.
Well, any thoughts on the other 2 games that happened over the weekend?
Absolutely. I think now we've got a New Jersey General North team beat the South team. They finally got a South win over the New Orleans Breaking Bad Breakers. I mean, they were on their way to the Super Bowl, or the USFL Super Bowl in Canton, Ohio. They thought they were going to get it, and then all of a sudden now they've dropped 2 in a row. But they have a great running back in Darius Victor. The guy's out of Townsend University. He had 95 yards. He's 5'8", 220 pounds, and his thighs are 30 inches. So like an Earl Campbell type of runner, small compact runner. Then they have Trey Williams, who comes in and he's the lightning, the quick back. He had 44 yards. And then their quarterback, DeAndre Johnson, had 39 yards and 2 touchdowns. So they looked like the team to beat in the North.
Okay, and there was one final game you might have some notes on?
Yes, your Jeff Fisher
yes.
went down to Tampa, got beat by Tampa Bay, 27-20. Tommy looks great. Tommy looks great. He had 207 yards and a touchdown. Patterson looked great for Michigan on the other hand. And we had our first double pass touchdown. Juwan Williams got a pass and threw a 30-yard touchdown to O'Malley. So we had our first double forward pass that role we wanted to see.
I'm sorry I missed that. I'll have to catch that on YouTube, I guess, if it's even up.
Right. Well, Juwan Washington now is the highest quarterback rating. He has 157.8 quarterback rating with his 1 pass and 1 touchdown.
All right. So, incidentally, all 4 games last weekend went over the betting point total. So, finally, we're getting some real action in these games.
Well, they only had 3 weeks of preseason.
Right.
So, now we're halfway through the season.
No preseason games.
Right. Yeah,
they just went out there and started playing. Maybe a couple scrimmages, and that was about it.
Right.
So, Big Rich, your picks went 3-2 last week, bringing up your USFL tally to 15-7 on the year. Pretty solid.
Well, I'm trying to stay up with the Gator Gates line. I mean, he's 70% in hockey, and
we'll see how that
we can keep it going. I mean, we're starting to see the teams, and I'm going to start with my pick. I'm going to take Tampa Bay. I think is the best pick, -3 over the Philadelphia Stars. Like we said, we don't know if Scott's going to play or not. Alabama Birmingham's giving up 7 to Michigan. I'll give up that 7. I can't go against the Stallions anymore. And the over on that is 37.5. That's the Big Rich pick of the week. 37.5 looks pretty solid. I think they both will go over. New Orleans Breakers -7.5. Honeymoon's over. Pittsburgh got their win. New Orleans Breakers defense should be able to hold them. And then New Jersey -7 against Houston. I like New Jersey.
Maybe this is why I'm only going like 2-2 last week, and you're winning. I'm going to be going against you in a couple of these picks.
Okay.
2-2 is not terrible, but certainly not great either. Saturday, I like Tampa Bay and Philly to go over 40.5 points. Mm-hmm. Philly has been one of the more consistent over teams, 3-0-1 over in their last 4 games.
Well, with that, Philadelphia Stars are averaging giving up 200 yards rushing per game. They gave up 155 last week, so that's a good pick.
Yeah, well, thank you. Also Saturday, I have to take Birmingham. I agree with you there, -7 against Michigan. That's a match made in heaven for me. The only home team, Birmingham, they won and covered all 5 of their games. So how can you bet against that?
Bet against that horse.
Yes, Michigan is 1-4 against the spread. Sunday, I'm going to go against you. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh plus the 7.5 against New Orleans. I watched that game, and Pittsburgh looked like a much better, different team with that Vadeli at quarterback. I was surprised to see how good they could actually play. And I'll also try the over 35 in that game. Mm-hmm. Every New Orleans game so far has scored at least 35 points. And finally, also Sunday, I'm going with Houston and New Jersey to go over 38.5 points. According to my numbers, each team has gone under only once. So
the analytics are with you.
maybe so. You think I'll figure this out sooner or later,
Just
right?
hopefully the quarterback doesn't drop the ball on you like he did me when I bet on him.
Great segment, Big Rich.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Stepping up to the plate now is our baseball correspondent, Rockin' Ronnie McKinnon. Welcome to the show, Ronnie.
Joe, thanks for having me. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Cool.
What's the news this week in Major League Baseball?
Well, Joe, just last week, it actually was the night before our show last week, but there's a kid, Reed Detmers. He's a Angel, starting pitcher, a Los Angeles Angel, a left-hander. He actually threw a no-hitter. And he had one walk, only a couple Ks, but he beat Tampa Bay 12-0. That was the 316th no-hitter in Major League Baseball.
I guess there was another no-hitter later in the week, but it was a strange, unusual no-hitter.
Correct, right. Yeah, that was a no-hitter and you lose. So that was actually the 6th time in history that a team has thrown a no-hitter and lost the game.
Pittsburgh beat Cincinnati last week.
Correct, exactly. Yeah, that was on May 15th on Sunday. And we've had, again, 6 of them in history. In 2008, 1992, 1990, 1967, all the way back to the first one on April 23rd in 1964. It was the Houston Colt 45s, they were called, before they were called the Astros. And they lost to the Cincinnati Reds. Ken Johnson pitched against Joe Nuxall, who actually was the youngest player to appear in a Major League Baseball game. You know, they both pitched, awesome, but ended up Pete Rose, of all people, when he was first starting out, he actually scored the only run of the game, and they won 1-0. So, yeah, we've had 6 of those now, and a lot of them were different pitchers in the game and such. But it's tough. Lose a game when your guy throws a no-hitter. So,
well, one game I saw the final score was 4-0, so it's possible to really.
That's correct.
Really blow it.
That was July 1st, 1990. The Yankees lost to the Chicago White Sox 4-0. That's correct.
Hard to do.
Yeah. Andy Hawkins in that game actually had 8 innings of no-hit ball in that game. So,
before we get to some more notes, Ronnie, your picks went 6-4 the last 2 weeks. Not too shabby. Which teams are playing well? Which teams aren't? And what are your predictions for this upcoming week?
Okay, well, I put some on the site yesterday. 7 games that are being played right now. A couple of them have already been played. The only final I got earlier was Tampa Bay over Detroit, which I picked Tampa Bay over Detroit. Milwaukee and Atlanta, I think it was a 1-run game in the 9th, and Milwaukee was losing. I didn't see the final on that yet. And then there's 5 more starting, as we speak. Some of them are going on right now.
So we have more predictions on the website. 5 more picks, or were those?
They were on there yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And so anyway, we'll go with the look at the teams and such. The Yankees are just going crazy. They're 27-9 going into today. They've actually allowed now the least amount of runs at 104, which usually the Dodgers were the leader in that. They've been giving up a bunch of runs. The Dodgers still hold the record for the most runs scored in Major League Baseball at 198. But the Yankees are 27-9. And then you have Tampa Bay, Toronto, Boston, and Baltimore in that order. Tampa Bay's 22-15. In the Central, it's Minnesota. Then Chicago White Sox are at 500. The other 3 teams are below 500 at the time. In the West, we have the Astros have been on fire. They're 24-13. The Angels are just a game back at 24-15. Then we have Texas, Seattle, and Oakland all under 500 at the time. In the National League East, it's the New York Mets. and they are 29-14, so they're still in first place. Then the rest of the teams in that division are all under 500: Miami, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and Washington. In the Central, it's Milwaukee, 23-14. Again, they were playing earlier and losing in the ninth 4-3. I didn't have that final. Then we have St. Louis at 20-16. The other three teams are below 500 with the Cubs, Pittsburgh, and the Cincinnati Reds. And then in the West, in the National League, the Dodgers, they lost 4 straight, then they've turned around and won 4 straight. They're 24-12. And then we have San Diego, only a game back. The Giants, only 2 games back of that. And then we have Arizona and Colorado, who were both a little above 500 and hanging there. Now they're both a couple games below 500 to round out the Western Division. So,
Okay. Well, as far as predictions, we'll check out the website for those.
correct.
And we'll go on from there. I guess, are there some other stories?
Yeah, there is one other story. Oh, yeah, Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina. They've been together, pitcher-catcher, for a long time with the St. Louis Cardinals, and they just set the record the other day for the most victories in AL or NL history as battery mates, which that's called pitcher and catcher. 203 victories, and they're still going. So that's, pretty impressive.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And one other thing, too, I wanted to bring up. Another college young man, Oklahoma State, first baseman, Griffin Doersching. He hit what they've measured as the longest home run in history ever. Major League Baseball, 513 feet. Now, I did read something that we'll see if that's actually correct. So I don't know, what's going on there. But 513 is what they measured it at, 113 miles per hour. Longest one recorded in StatCast era since 2015. So the only other home runs ever over 500 feet was actually Giancarlo Stanton, who plays for the Yankees. He hit one at 504. And then there was 505 feet was from a right fielder, Nomar Mazar. I'm trying to get that last name. I never heard of him myself, but Mazarin something. Yeah, Mazarin. Yeah. Anyway, that was in 2019 for Texas, and they measured that at 505. And anyway, that's kind of some cool stuff.
All right. Terrific job, Ronnie. Thank you. We have 2 guys who love betting on the horses covering the Preakness. We have Gator Gates and Rockin' Ronnie McKinnon. We're going to talk about thoughts and predictions on the second jewel of the Triple Crown, the Preakness Stakes. Ronnie, you want to lead it off?
Sure, Joe. Thanks for having me. This Saturday, May 21st, 2022, it'll be at 4:01 is post time, our time here on the West Coast. It's at Pimlico Racetrack in Baltimore. This is going to be the 147th running of the Preakness, and this is 1 mile and 3/16. So it's just a 1/16 of a mile less than the Kentucky Derby, which was 1.25 miles. There's only 9 horses right now in this race, and the favorite Epicenter, who actually came in second to that amazing horse last week or 2 weeks ago almost, Rich Strike in the Kentucky Derby, Epicenter, and then also Simplification. He ended up running 4th in that race in the Kentucky Derby. There's only one other horse that was in the Kentucky Derby in this race, and that's Happy Jack. So at this point, Epicenter is the favorite. Then it looks like Early Voting and Secret Oath. Personally, I'm going to take Epicenter to win this race or at least be in an exact or a trifecta. I also like Simplification actually over the 2 that are the next favorites, Secret Oath and Early Voting. I think one of those will be in there in that top 3. I will be putting something on the site when I do a little bit more research myself, but right now I'm liking Epicenter, a number 8, and number 1, Simplification. So,
Well, what do you think about that, Gator?
Well, Epic Center, I think is going to hit the board. So the way that I'm going to make my bet is I'm going to do an exacta box key in Epic Center. And the other two horses I would key it with would be Simplification, like Ronnie was saying, but I also like early voting. So I would do an exacta with Epic Center, with Simplification, and early voting.
Well, there you go. Those are our hot picks.
That's it, and I'll be putting something on the site too on my final pick, probably tomorrow, Friday at the latest. The race isn't until late Saturday afternoon our time at 4:01 p.m. again. So,
all right, thanks a lot, guys. Back to cover and predict some more sports action is Gator Gates. Gator, tomorrow starts golf's second major of the year, the PGA Championship at Southern Hills Country Club in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Do you have any thoughts or predictions?
Well, what I'm looking at here, Joe, is that the top two golfers going for the tournament the whole year, PGA Championship, is Rahm and Scheffler. I like Rahm a little bit better. He is at 12-1, and he started off at 14-1. The bettors are betting him down a little bit. But I would just go with them two, either Scheffler or Rahm.
Yep. Sad to say, Phil Mickelson will not be here to defend his title. He was the oldest at 50 years old last year to win a major, but all his comments that he's been sticking his foot in his mouth is keeping him home and not answering any more questions with the media for a little while.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
And he should know better, though, Joe.
Yeah. Well, he wants to join the Saudis over there, and or maybe not now.
But not now.
In this new golf league that has also asked Jack Nicklaus.
Yeah, they offered him $100 million.
Yeah, so that's just a drop in the bucket to the Saudis, apparently, I guess. But
couldn't imagine turning that down, Joe. Gator, you want $100 million? Nah, it's okay.
Jack Nicklaus, I think he probably has $100 million in the bank himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This must be rough.
But I'm picking my favorite golfer, Jordan Spieth. If Spieth wins, he completes the career Grand Slam. That's the Masters, the U.S. Open, British Open, and PGA. And lately, he's been playing well enough to do it. If he does it, he'll join some super elite company. Jack Nicklaus, as we just mentioned, Tiger Woods, Gary Player, Ben Hogan, and Gene Sarazen. Among the 12 players who won 3 of the 4 majors is another who's who of golf. Byron Nelson, Sam Snead, Arnold Palmer, Tom Watson, Walter Hagen, and Lee Trevino. Current players with 3 of the 4 are Spieth, Mickelson, and Rory McIlroy. Spieth is only 28 years old, so he has plenty of time to do it, but no time like the present. Mickelson, he needs the U.S. Open. McIlroy needs the Masters, so they can't get the 4th one here, but Spieth can.
Yeah, it makes sense why you'd pick him. Sure, he's got everything to play for.
And he's been playing great.
Yeah, makes sense.
Gator, tennis's second major of the year, the French Open, begins Sunday at Roland Garros Stadium in Paris. Do you have any picks?
Well, yeah, I would take Nadal.
Rafael Nadal?
Nadal, right? But you were telling me some things about him, but I'd still take him. I don't know who else to take early.
Well, number 1 in the world, Novak Djokovic, just won his 1,000th match. Amazing. And the title in Rome last week. So, 13. He looks really good. 13-time French Open champion Nadal is coming back from an injury.
Yeah, you told me.
And he hasn't won a tournament since he came back from injury. The story should be the 19-year-old from Spain, Carlos Alcaraz, who is the up-and-comer and going to take over for Nadal.
No, I do like that in tennis, Joe. I mean, we've had these guys at the top for so long. It's kind of nice to see some new blood, some new fresh guys getting in there. So, yeah, I'm actually excited about that.
Yeah, and Alcaraz beat Djokovic and Nadal a couple of weeks ago. So.
Man, that's good for the sport.
Absolutely. On the women's side, the most dominant player is Poland's Iga Swiatek. She's basically a shoo-in to win it.
That's what you were saying, Joe. I'll take the field.
You take the field against her?
Why not?
Okay. Shifting gears to auto racing, what's happening in NASCAR?
Well, we were at Kansas last week, Joe, and on lap 59, 8 laps left, we had Kyle Larson and Kurt Busch. They were side by side, and Kurt got the lead when Kyle brushed the wall and lost enough momentum for Kyle to pass him. But that gave Kurt his first win of the year, and after he got out of his car, he said, and I quote, "I finally conquered this track. I can't believe it," unquote. Now, Joe, last week I thought that Toyota was going to do terrible, and that's why I picked a Chevy, or a Ford, I'm sorry, I picked a Ford. But Toyota had 4 of the top 5 finishers, and Chevy ended up with 2nd. The Fords ended up with 11th with Austin Cindric. Now, Kurt Busch was at 40-1, Joe, and the Toyota line was at a plus 245. So very, very nice payouts, Joe.
Definitely money to win there in that race. That's 11 different winners this year. And we're talking about the playoffs. We predicted this a few weeks ago. Might be expanded to more than 16 to accommodate all the winners if they keep this up.
It looks like you're going to have to win 2 somewhere.
Or you might have to win 2. Exactly.
Yeah.
That would be controversial. But it might happen. Next week is the All-Star Open in Texas. Any thoughts?
Well, yeah, you're right. It's in Texas, and where anything can happen and anything does. Joe, your guess is as good as mine as far as this goes. It's not for points. It's all for money, and anything goes. I'm going to take my driver, Martin Truex.
I will not make a prediction. As you said, totally wide open. And what's going on this weekend in Formula One?
Okay, well, this weekend is the Spain Grand Prix, where, again, the last year's winner was Lewis Hamilton. But I'm going to take the Ferrari driver, Charles Leclerc. Sunday in Monaco, they had the historic Grand Prix, and Charles was driving the 3-time champion Niki Lauda's 1974 Ferrari in a demonstration run. Towards the end of his time on the track, he went too deep into a corner, lost control, spun, and crashed rear end to the barriers. So I'm figuring that he already got his wreck out of the way and he's going to be flawless Sunday. But Joe, what's crazy is last year the Formula One driver Gene Lacey, he crashed that same 1974 Ferrari as well.
That car's just bad luck.
Yeah, maybe it's possessed or something. Maybe they're not supposed to be driving it.
No, maybe not. And finally, what's the news with the Indy cars?
Right, this weekend is qualifying for the Indy 500, and Pedro O'Ward and Joseph Newgarden are both at 7-1. Now, Scott Dixon is 7.5. Carlton Herta is also as well as Scott Laughlin are both at 8-1. But Joe, what I'm interested in is watching Tony Kanaan and Hilo Castroneves to see what they do in qualifying. They're both at 15-1, Joe, and it seems kind of high for me. But if I don't know, see what they do, and maybe because if there is a driver right now that you really do like, I would encourage you to go get them this second, because they will change after Saturday. I'm sure you won't be able to get them while they're qualifying either.
Right. Castroneves got his 4th Indy 500 victory last year. No one's ever had 5, so that would be quite the story.
Interesting, yeah.
Fantastic job, Gator.
No, thank you, Joe. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you. Sponsored by MXE Media, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time for the moments we've all been waiting for. The stories that make us furious about bets that appeared surely to be winners, but in the end something went horribly wrong and they ended up being losers. It's a segment we affectionately call You Got Hosed.
You got hosed.
So Gator, you have a You Got Hosed story this week.
Yeah, sure, Joe. Joe, there was a ton of host stories this week from the NBA, the NHL, and even the Canadian Football League could go on strike. And even if they do, that'll be the first time in about 40 years that they've done that. But the story that perked my ears was the NFL playing on Christmas. In the past, the NHL and the NFL both didn't schedule any games on that day, and the NBA had the whole day to themselves. But the 2022 NFL schedule came out, and they put 3 games for Sunday. And not just your run-of-the-mill games either, Joe. I'm talking like at 10 o'clock, Green Bay at Miami. At 1:30, you got Denver at the LA Rams. And the night game is Tampa Bay against Arizona. That will start at 5:20. So I'd have to say this week, the NBA got really hosed.
Well, I'm totally okay with that. I don't need to watch all that NBA. I'd rather be watching football too. Good for the NFL.
Oh, do you got a story, Joe?
Yeah, I feel like the entire Phoenix Suns nation and me and everybody else who bet them, we all got hosed. Here's the best team in the NBA the entire season. All they need to do is win either Game 6 or 7 versus Dallas, and they advance to the Western Conference Finals. Personally, I've got a 6-team series parlay and a 4-team parlay on those games, and all I need is the Suns to win both of those tickets, and what do? They lose by 33. They never even had a chance. They were down by 30 at halftime. Anyone who believed in Phoenix witnessed a collapse of epic proportions, and they got hosed.
You got destroyed. You got more than hosed, you got destroyed.
You got hosed.
Thank you for all my guests for being on the show, and we're looking forward to doing another episode next week.
You've been listening to a Covering the Field Sports Show. Visit us at coveringthefield.com. Email us your comments, questions, and you got host stories at coveringthefield@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at coveringfield. Thank you to our junior IT, Caden Martin. Thanks to our assistant to the editorial staff, Boots McCage. We will see you all next time for another episode of Covering the Field.